In 1812, the first version of Snow White was not a children's fantasy. It began with a mother demanding her daughter's organs be boiled and served for dinner. Centuries before Disney's magic, the real legend was soaked in jealousy, poisoning, and royal scandals, with deadly consequences. But why did the Brothers Grimm rewrite this horror? And whose gruesome reality inspired it? The answers reveal a story you were never meant to hear. The original 1812 manuscript of Snow White leaves no room for fairy tale gentleness. In stark, unvarnished language, the Brothers Grimm record the Queen, Snow White's own mother, summoning a huntsman and commanding him to take the child out into the wild forest and kill it. She tells him to bring her the child's lungs and liver so she can cook them and eat them. The order is clear. Not only must the girl die, her remains are to be consumed as proof of the deed. The huntsman, faced with this demand, leads the child deep into the woods. When the moment comes, he cannot bring himself to kill her. Instead, a wild boar crosses their path. He slaughters the animal, removes its lungs and liver, and delivers them to the Queen. She boils the organs with salt and pepper and eats them, convinced she has devoured her own daughter. This is brutal. This passage, printed in the first edition of Kinder- und Hausmärchen, stands in sharp contrast to later sanitized versions. The Queen is not yet the wicked stepmother of popular retellings, but the biological mother, her violence and jealousy unfiltered. The 1812 text does not hide the horror. Maternal cannibalism is front and center, underscoring the rawness of the oral folktales the Grimms collected from the Hessian countryside. Editorial changes came quickly. By 1819, the mother becomes a stepmother and the language softens. Scholars point to mounting pressure from educators and parents who found the original too disturbing for children. Letters from Wilhelm Grimm reveal a deliberate effort to recast the tales for a family audience, shifting the blame from mother to stepmother and muting the cannibalistic ritual. But in the earliest manuscript, the violence is explicit and the Queen's demand is chillingly precise. The story's first readers encountered a world where envy led not just to murder, but to the ritual consumption of a child's flesh, a reality far removed from the enchanted forests and gentle dwarfs of later adaptations. If you want more, subscribe. Margarete von Waldeck grew up in a world where envy could be deadly and beauty was a dangerous gift. Born in 1533 to the ruling family of Waldeck, she lived among the German nobility. Every mirror and jeweled comb was more than decoration. It was a measure of worth. Margarete's youth was marked by courtly intrigue and whispers of rivalry. At just 21, she died under mysterious circumstances in Brussels. Letters from her father hint at suspicion, and rumors spread that she had been poisoned by her stepmother or by political enemies unsettled by her charm and alliances. Poisoning was a silent weapon in the courts of 16th century Europe, a method as invisible as it was effective, and one that parallels the silent, creeping danger faced by Snow White. A century and a half later, Maria Sophia von Erthal was born into another aristocratic household, this time in Lohr am Main. Her father managed the town's glassworks, a center for some of the finest mirrors in Germany. These were not ordinary household items. Mirrors from Lohr were prized by the upper class, expensive enough to be displayed as symbols of power and status. One such mirror, still housed in Law Castle, bears the inscription Amour propre, meaning self-love, a phrase that speaks to the vanity and competition simmering in noble families. The clarity of these mirrors was legendary, earning them the nickname Talking Mirrors because they reflected every detail without flattery or distortion. Within these aristocratic homes, a mirror's verdict could shape destinies. Beauty was currency, and a daughter's youth threatened the ambitions of stepmothers and rivals alike. The legend of Maria Sophia's stepmother and the presence of this mirror inspired local storytellers long after her death in 1796. Though the evidence linking Maria Sophia directly to Snow White is circumstantial at best, the elements are all present: a powerful stepmother, a prized mirror, and a household where envy could fester behind gilded doors. In these stories, the mirror becomes more than a reflective surface. It is a judge, fueling suspicion and resentment, and setting the stage for the next escalation in the tale. If you want more deep dives like this, subscribe for more videos about the disturbing origins of familiar fairy tales. In the shadowed forests of central Germany, far from the polished halls of Law Castle, another reality shaped the world behind the story. Deep beneath the Spessart Hills, children as young as 7 entered the mines, their small bodies forced to crawl through tunnels too narrow for grown men. Parish records and mining logs from the early 1700s describe a workforce of boys and girls, their growth stunted by years spent in darkness, their lungs scarred by dust and toxic fumes. Locals called them the Kleinenberg Leute, though there was nothing magical about their lives. Days began before dawn, with hours of digging, hauling, and sorting ore by candlelight. The air was thick with the smell of sweat and damp earth, interrupted only by the clatter of pickaxes and the coughs of those already weakened by the work. Communal huts in the woods served as their only refuge. Orphaned or abandoned, these children formed makeshift families, sharing meager food and tending to one another's wounds. Girls sometimes found shelter by keeping house for the boys, cooking and cleaning in exchange for a place to sleep. Survival depended on cooperation, not fairy tale kindness. The physical toll was unmistakable: curved spines, bowed legs, and faces set with the wary expressions of those who had seen too much, too soon. By adulthood, if they reached it, many stood no taller than a child, their bodies permanently marked by the tunnels that had shaped them. The legend of the dwarves owes less to fantasy than to these forgotten miners. Their lives, chronicled in Spessart's parish books and mining archives, reveal a world where childhood was a brief and dangerous passage. The story's cottage in the woods is not a sanctuary, but a memory of communal huts filled with exhausted, grimy children, survivors of a system that demanded everything and gave almost nothing in return. Poison was not a fantasy in the world that shaped Snow White. It was a tool, refined and deadly, woven into the fabric of European courts and kitchens. In the 16th and 17th centuries, belladonna, deadly nightshade, grew wild in the forests of central Germany. Its dark berries, glistening and sweet, tempted children and adults alike. To the unknowing, A handful meant hallucinations, flushed skin, wild delirium, and in higher doses, a coma so deep it mimicked death itself. Medical treatises of the time describe patients lying motionless, their breathing faint, pupils wide and unresponsive. Survival depended on luck and the skill of a physician who recognized the signs. The tale's infamous apple draws directly from this botanical reality. Belladonna's berries could be crushed, their juice painted onto fruit or baked into pies. The symptoms matched the story: a sudden collapse, a sleep that looked like death, and if the dose was not fatal, a slow, bewildered awakening. In the courts of Italy and Germany, aqua tofana and other methods show how poisoners perfected their craft. Aqua tofana was a clear liquid laced with arsenic and belladonna, sold in vials small enough to hide in a sleeve. It killed discreetly, its effects mistaken for illness or heartbreak. Giulia Tofana's network in 17th century Naples was linked to hundreds of deaths. Her clients were often women seeking escape from violent husbands or rivals for inheritance. Snow White's story unfolds as a sequence of attacks, each more desperate than the last. The queen tries a suffocating lace, then a poisoned comb, and finally, the apple. The pattern mirrors criminal cases where poisoners escalated their methods when earlier attempts failed. Forensic records from the era document 3 or more attempts before success or exposure. The fairy tale's death-like sleep, so central to its climax, is not fantasy, but a reflection of real toxicology. It is a reminder that the boundary between myth and medical fact was thin, and that the dangers lurking in a simple piece of fruit could be all too real. If you want to uncover more unsettling truths behind familiar stories, remember to subscribe for future episodes. Fairy tales are not just bedtime stories. They reflect the fears and power struggles of their time. As we reshape old legends for new audiences, we decide which truths to keep hidden. What we choose to forget still shapes what children learn today. Let me know your thoughts below.